Hi guys, it's Allie. Here to do my daily journal and to start my story of living with Ehlers Danlos, a connective tissue disease that has caused me to have an inflammatory disease, autonomic dysfunction, and intracranial hypertension. Those are the diagnoses that I have and things I'm being treated for. So I wanted to start off telling you about my childhood, and the reason why is if you have a child and they're having these symptoms, just something to look out for. Sometimes it's normal to have extra laxity in your joints, and sometimes there's cause for worry when you start getting random things going on. I would just say that to go with your gut. Always go with your gut, and advocate for yourself and advocate for your children, because we're really lucky to have a wonderful medical system here in America, but it's definitely not perfect. And I had all these random symptoms as a child, and the problem was there was no quarterback. There was nobody. I went to all these different specialists, but there was nobody that put everything together until 3 years ago. So I'm going to start telling you about my life and living with it and what symptoms came up. And I had a wonderful childhood. Absolutely wonderful. I grew up, I was a tomboy. I went full force. I mean, you could not stop me. One thing I noticed though is that I could do all these like funny things with my body, like party tricks, I call them. I would do things and I would show my friends, and this is called a hitchhiker's thumb by itself. All these things by itself can be benign, completely benign. But if you find yourself being able to do these things, with your thumb like that, and your feet are flat, and your joints are loose, and you can put your feet over your head, and you can do all these crazy things that your friends are like speechless. Those are the things that start adding up. And I also, as a child, got bruises all the time, everywhere. I was constantly getting hurt. My mom had to bring me to different ERs every time I got hurt because she was afraid that, they'd be like, why is this child getting hurt so much? Make no mistake, I was getting hurt because I was a tomboy. I was going a mile a minute as fast as I could go. I didn't want anything to stop me. And I didn't care that I was getting pain in my body, which I was. But I was a kid and I was living life to my fullest. And, so when I broke arms, one day I broke one arm, and then the next day I broke the next arm, the other arm, the very next day. And then, and it was like, I just kept getting all these random injuries, and I would have, random issues with my stomach. I was nauseous every single morning, almost, and I'd wake up in the morning and I would get these, spells where I'd wake up in the morning to get ready for school, and I'm like, okay, let's do this, and I just get to where I was going to throw up. So I'd have to go back and lay down in bed. This was almost daily. And so I would lay back down for 5 minutes and I'd feel better. And then I'd get up and get dressed for school. But to me, it was just kind of part of life. And I thought that it was normal to feel nauseous in the mornings. Like, I figured I just wasn't getting enough sleep or something. So I had no idea that this was abnormal. And I just kept going. And then I got we get hives randomly. I would take a shower, and every time I would get out of the shower, I would have this terrible itching and hives all over my legs, and to the point, I'm in middle school, and I'm on the floor after a shower in the bathroom, scratching my legs, just scratching, and I didn't even think to tell my parents because my legs just itched. I didn't think that was a big deal, but it was. It was the beginning of this inflammatory condition I have, and it was not right. So I think it's important, for when you have something that doesn't feel right, to speak up. When I was raised that back in the day where, and this is no reflection on my parents at all. I had the best parents in the entire world. But it was thought of as being strong by not complaining, and strong to brush things off and continue on, even though you may not feel the best, brave it through, go to school anyway. So that's what I did. I didn't complain much. And then I started getting growing pains, which is what the doctor called them. But it was terrible. It was very bad pain. Like, as a child, I would think that having that pain to the level that I was having shouldn't be normal when you're growing up. Like, to have your joints just kill you. My knees would hurt so bad, and my shins would hurt really bad, and my ankles would hurt. And as I got older and started going into adolescence, I started being a competitive athlete and playing tennis, and unfortunately that kind of exacerbated the pain more. So I started having to wear supports. My feet were completely flat, so I was wearing orthotics every day in my shoes at I don't know, 11, 12 years old. I'm wearing orthotics, old lady orthotics. But, I didn't think of it like that. I just thought of it as a tool to help me, so I didn't care. So I had started having to wear knee braces as I got into being around a teenager. Like at 13, I started having to wear knee braces because my knees were just all over the place. They just were completely unstable. And, but I didn't realize, I never connected everything together. So everything, you go to all these different specialists and everything is separated. Nothing's connected together. So I had knee braces and orthotics, and sometimes I'd have to tape my ankles up depending on, the week or the month. Sometimes, that they'd start hurting, I'd sprain them or something. So start getting those. So I was like this walking medical case as a teenager. And but didn't stop me. I just kept going. I kept playing. I love sports. I just kept going. So I was just thinking of those as wins. Being a tomboy and being an athlete, the more you push through, we wear those as badges of honor, right? I've got braces on and I'm still going. So, it's kind of like a badge of honor. I get to keep, playing my sport and just take myself up. I'm tough. So then as I got into high school, my shoulder started hurting real bad. And this was something that I ignored for a long time, for a while, too long. But then it got to the point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. When I was serving and doing overheads, my shoulder started dislocating. So, not good. So at 15, I had my first surgery to tighten my shoulder joint. Now, again, I had no idea about any diagnosis of any sort, so I just thought, again, this is a chance for me to prove myself. Let's get the surgery, get back on the court, and keep going. So I had this surgery, and the first one failed. What happened was the doctor did it a little conservatively, because he said that if he did it too tight, it may over tighten and I may not be able to play tennis again. But because I had these underlying connective tissue issues, my joint stretched back out almost immediately when I started playing tennis again, and the operation failed. So here I am, 15 years old, in high school, competitive tennis player. I have the dreams and hopes and aspirations to be a college tennis player, and that was really, my ultimate goal. I was going to a tennis academy, and I had so much support, by my friends and so much support by my family, and my parents were just amazing. My dad was the kind of dad that went to every single match that I had. As a matter of fact, he went to every single practice and sat by the sidelines, and it was amazing dad. And I was like, I don't want to give this feeling up, this feeling of hitting this tennis ball. I don't know if you guys have ever had something that brings you so much joy and love and passion, but that's what I felt when I hit that tennis ball. It was like the ultimate for me. Like, I loved it so much. So I just wasn't ready to give up. So the surgeon said, I can do this surgery again. And the surgery is called a capsular shift, and it's just quite extensive surgery to go through. But they tighten your whole joint up and do a bunch of things. But and so I said, okay. He said, well, I do this next surgery, and I'm going to have to do it a lot tighter, and I'm going to have to do a few different things I didn't do before, and you'll probably never be able to play tennis again. And I was like, he goes, but if I don't do the surgery, you definitely will never be able to play tennis again, because, my shoulder would dislocate, and I would serve and do overheads. So I was like, okay, I'll take the chance. I'll do the surgery. Let's do this again. So at 17, I had a second surgery. And they tightened that shoulder right on up. And it held. This time it held. And I did so much physical therapy, and I did so much strengthening. And I had just gotten done doing my physical therapy. And I took it like it was my full-time job to get well so I could play tennis again. That was all that mattered to me. And at the time, in hindsight, I was a little short-sighted. I listened to those physical therapists, and I worked my butt off so that this surgery would not fail. And when my shoulder scarred all down with scar tissue, and which is another symptom of Ehlers Danlos, is scarring, overscarring. And I couldn't move. When I couldn't move my shoulder one extra bit, I just kept pushing, and I got my mobility back, and I was able to play tennis again. And to me, that was like my success story in life. I was like, I did this. The doctor told me I couldn't play tennis again, and I did it. I played tennis again. Like, see, hard work pays off. I can do this. So it just took it as more motivation to keep pushing. So I got myself back on the court, practicing again, and my whole dream for my whole life was to get a tennis scholarship to college and play. tennis by the beach. That was my big thing. And I actually thought the University of Florida, being a kid, I thought the University of Florida was by the beach. So when I found that it wasn't, I was a little disappointed. But everything happens for a reason and everything works out. So I literally got a scholarship to play tennis at this amazing college in Florida, right by the beach. So I achieved my childhood dream of getting a scholarship to play tennis by the beach. To hear what happens in college, life just gets more interesting every year. Please stay tuned for my next episode where I tell you about life in college with Ehlers Danlos. Love and hugs coming at you.